okay, it is. Okay.
I can't believe we didn't cover a lot of the Executor in the lead up and the preamble to this match. But Gary's team, we've seen this multiple times before from him, is he brings something that appears entirely off the wall, but he understands it to a level that is going to be really, really good. But a strong opponent, of course, in Fiona, playing a team that has started to prove itself, has been picking up some results. Nothing completely wild in the lead, though, for either of the trainers. It's going to be the Ndidi and the Eviltal over on Gary's side of the field. And Fiona matching up with the Reshiram and that Tapu Fini. So yes, we are going to have a control of terrain war, which Tapu Fini is going to win just by virtue of being slower than Ndidi.
Hey, you wanted those trains. You get it right. Here we go. It only took 1 turns.
Yes, I asked for them and I received them very, very quickly. The Ndidi, doesn't really need it so much. It's really nice to block Fake Out, obviously, and that's one of my favorite, at least, reasons to use Psychic Terrain. Expanding Force being number 2, but taking that away does help out a little bit. But I don't think Expanding Force is like the easy click here, right? To just say, haha, I will Expanding Force and take you out. I think something more like the Follow Me is what we're going to be expecting.
And crucial, too, with a Fairy-type Pokemon on the other side of the field facing Yveltal down.
A Fairy-type Pokemon that I think in recent times has moved away from just like double Fairy move as well. I think revealing exactly what that has is going to be really, really important. Not only for Fiona, but Gary's knowledge as well, and game planning into games 2 and potentially game 3. Both trainers, though, committing to a Dynamax on turn 1. You have to imagine it's going to be those restricted Pokemon. If it's Tapu Fini, I'm going to be shocked, but I do not rule it out. But there's the confirmation, of course, that it is the Reshiram. So going to be able to try and push on and just see how much damage can be done. A lot being asked of the Ndidi to buy time for its pal Eviltal.
Yeah, it's 2 Pokemon going to hit pretty hard, but it's a crucial turn here, and we do see that Follow Me coming in.
Yeah, Follow Me onto the Ndidi will draw away some attacks and buy this Eviltal time. Firing out the Max Darkness, going to land into that Reshiram. Not the hugest amount of damage, but of course the special defense drop would help out in future turns a little bit as well. Reshiram, one of those Pokemon, I put it in the same vein as Palkia, right, and Dialga. Quite naturally bulky, so softening them up really helps. Tapu Fini's Nature's Madness feels very wasted here into an Ndidi, but making sure that the Focus Sash is not a factor. And Reshiram gets control of the weather, following up with a Max Flare. That said, I mean, the Eviltal's just got away with it that turn and hasn't taken any damage. The Nature's Madness would have been so nice into that slot, but just not getting it in there. Gonna cause some problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to lose a Pokemon on turn 1 like that, but that would have been much worse if that didn't happen. And I think one of the weaknesses of Gary's team, he can't really switch around that much, right? It's like very important for him to get that situation where he's safely getting attacks off with his restricted Pokemon before, in the first couple of turns of the game. You see Kyogre come in here, removing the effects of that Max Flare immediately and helping threaten a knockout on that Reshiram. I think the problem is even with the special defense drop, Yveltal wasn't going to be able to pick up that knock on its own. Now the combination of the 2 Pokemon are scary enough that at least forces a different move here. Though, with the Max Guard, I mean, neither of these Pokemon want to get hit with Nature's Madness either. So it's a turn that could go either way.
Well, the big thing here is the Reshiram just is easier to deal with after that special defense drop. And while it may not help out the Eviltal that much, it definitely helps out the Kyogre, and that's going to help out against both Pokemon. Eviltal pivoting over, though, away from that. Yeah, Max Airstream is a very good move, especially after a special defense drop. Easily dealing with that Tapu Fini, and the Nature's Madness just not a concern anymore. Yeah,
I mean, that's a big deal, too. That Kyogre is going to speed up because of this and make that Water Spout likely even more devastating.
A single target Water Spout as well. The Reshiram, though, does manage to take it even after that special defense drop. And, hey, why not try and make up for it with our move of the weekend, Max Quake? This is sort of a good showing of why these Dynamax moves are so important, right? It's a bad one for Reshiram, though, because it's not benefiting its partner, because Tapu Fini was felled. So Gary, really in the driving seat in this game, did lose a Pokemon early, but it was the Pokemon that he needed and could afford to lose, whereas I think taking out that Tapu Fini is higher value overall.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a tough matchup for a lot of the members of the team. Getting that down so easily is a big deal, but we do see the second restricted Pokemon coming to this side.
Yeah, the Calyrex coming into the field with its double ability as well. I don't know if the Unnerve is going to be super important here, but it's always nice to see and be reminded of. The Chilling Neigh is probably way more important as far as abilities go on this Pokemon, but I like to call out Unnerve because there are cases where it is important.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what items some of these Pokemon are likely to use. So perhaps with Gary's supportive Pokemon, it could be a bigger deal. It's a tough spot here, though, right? I mean, Reshiram, just barely clinging on, Water Spout likely to be a knockout, and Calaric's going to protect here, maybe just letting Reshiram go so he can get in better position.
Well, once the big concern for me really is once you start losing Pokemon, right, is, this Calyrex is taking huge amounts of damage through the Protect anyway, because that is super effective. But, if you're looking at kind of where the board state lands for Fiona right now, she does want to start looking and playing at a Trick Room, I imagine. And yes, the weakness policy is huge here, but you're going to need to buy a lot of time to get through to that Trick Room. The Water Spout into that Protect is good, but, the Calyrex isn't really set up to sweep even after its weakness policy right now. So maybe back to the drawing board for a game plan as far as this game goes, because now you're down to your last 2 Pokemon, and they're just not doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a theoretically great weakness policy, right? I just don't know the scenario. We do see Porygon, too. I think that's kind of interesting information. Right? I think it could very feasibly have been either Porygon or Incineroar, kind of go for that fake-out Trick Room thing, but it doesn't really seem like there's much chance of either of those occurring from here.
Porygon could. I mean, Porygon's now facing down against not a Dynamax Yveltal. Could put itself in a position to do that. But I mean, this.
I guess, and then what, right? I think Trick Room will get up, but just, I mean, unless there's a double protect from Calyrex here, it's just like a.
That's the concern, is the Calyrex fired it off. Calyrex goes for it and doesn't get it.
All right, well, that would have been a big swing, but yeah, we're going to end up with lone Porygon facing down a couple of very large Pokemon on this side of the field.
Porygon 3v1, 2 restricted challenge, difficulty near impossible, but we'll see it play out. I imagine, of course, that it is going to be attempted. At least get a little bit more information as well. Porygon, though, does set the Trick Room, manages to set that up, but at what cost, right? You lost your partner Pokemon, you lost the Pokemon that capitalizes on it. Yeah, that's not going to be a particularly great position for Fiona in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough matchup, right? Where I think, this team preview, you don't know what it is that Gary is going to do because half of his team are just Pokemon you never see, right? And I feel like that start was it was a tough one, right? Where
yeah, that was a really tough matchup there. But we do love creative team building. We love to see some off-the-wall Pokemon. We've always loved to see some unique Pokemon choices coming through and being able to be played. Didn't quite see one in that game, but there's options and there's potential for it in future. And I think overall, I've always been a fan of these trainers who find that creativity and enjoy playing the game the way they want to play, right? You were kind of, no offense, you were berating it early, that certain Pokemon don't have the stat line that you desire. And I like that trainers are willing to try and prove you wrong and turn up to tournaments with a lesser stat line, but maybe a type advantage, or even like a comfort advantage, right? Like just picking a team that you've been experimenting with and you've put in 20, 30 hours with. There's an advantage to that.
Yeah, I mean, as always, that's an interesting interpretation of events, Adam. But yeah, I think especially in this case, it's interesting, right? Because like, there's interesting qualities that all these Pokemon have that kind of nothing else does. Marowak in particular, there's very few Pokemon that potentially have the Lightning Rod ability. Where if you want that, I mean, it's basically that or an Electric type, right? And like, I don't know that most of those Pokemon are capable of like, surviving long enough in this format to actually.
I would argue that there is other Lightning Rod users that you could choose, but sometimes, you're on a budget and you just take the Marowak because you like the Marowak, I mean, I can't take that away from a player. I would love to see a justification of why Marowak outside of Lightning Rod. Like, I know Lightning Rod happens, but what else can it do? And that's a question that I think is cool when we get to this team building phase. Particularly now we're in this unique position, right, where we do actually have quite a large number of players qualified for Worlds, and I'm not saying they're not going to take regionals seriously, but there's time to be creative and time to be inventive, and this is probably it for a number of these players. Yeah,
I mean, I think kind of your point about comfort too, right? But again, if you're not trying to be the best player at whatever the most standard team is, it's really hard to win big tournaments by just playing the most common team, right? So I think it makes sense where, like, if you think your best path toward winning is to come up with something that no one else has seen, like be the best at your own thing, you got to start iterating in that somewhere, right? The wrong time to do that is like 2 weeks before Worlds. Like, oh man, I guess I should win Worlds now. It's not that easy, right? And I think we've seen a lot of players kind of playing similar teams over several months, having great tournament results because of it. And that's got to start somewhere, right? And like, who knows? We've seen Gary, maybe more than almost any player in this region succeed using unexpected Pokemon, right? So if anybody's going to come up with something that's like really off the wall and surprises us in a good way, he's one of the people who's capable of doing it. I think these particular Pokemon, I'm surprised to see. I think I'm a little higher on you than Marowak, or I'm higher on Marowak than you are, but Executor's the one I'm really curious about, where I can't remember the last time I've seen it in a serious doubles team, even in a non-GS Cup format.
Yeah, it's certainly a unique choice, and it doesn't seem relevant in this matchup, really. I mean, it's not hitting anything super effectively. You know, it's scared of certain Pokemon on the other side of the field, so maybe just time to just chill out on that one, and maybe we'll see it tomorrow. Yeah, Let's not rule it out. We're in round number 6. Maybe we'll see it tomorrow. Yeah,
I agreed, though, right? Where it's hard to imagine the scenario where it's putting too much work in and it gets this team.
Yeah, I don't know if the Ice Rider Calyrex is a friend to the potential Alolan Executor here. I think it sort of shuts that one down a little bit too much, and something you have to leave at home. And in the same vein, though, I mean, you know, I was ragging on it a little bit, but looking through Fiona's force, she didn't bring the Regieleki, and I think the Marowak has made that decision for her.
Yeah, it's kind of the Gastrodon effect, right? Where sometimes even if you don't select the Pokemon, it has an effect on the match.
Yep, and the Regieleki would be great here, particularly the amount of work, of course, that the Yveltal did in that game number 1. You would love to see it, and hey, you didn't actually see all 4 of the Pokemon last game, so you still have to be respectful of that, and that is a tough position to be in. But here's the Trick Room lead available right away with that Porygon 2. I like that one, actually. I think that being able to get that in earlier, seeing that that was a potential path to victory could be really, really cool, especially if it's executed very, very efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think because of the way the beginning of the game played out last time, Calyrex didn't really get the chance to do anything. But I think in this scenario, even if you wind up losing Reshiram sort of quickly again, at least then Calyrex gets to come in a situation where it has a chance at being successful. Obviously, Porygon 2 switching out, so it's not going to happen yet.
As soon as we say how much we love Porygon 2, it does, of course, leave the field, making the swap for the Tapu Fini. Misty Surge, making sure you win that terrain war by switching in rather than just going for the speed difference in the lead. But immediately as well, yeah, once again, this Yveltal felt really good, I think. The damage was a little bit lacking and wasn't really taking advantage of those boosts as much as I would have liked. I think a pivot over to Max Airstream early doors is my preferred option. But, you know, the Porygon 2 was in the lead, so maybe that leaves Gary thinking about it and second-guessing himself a little bit as he decides to play it that way. But yeah, once again, match from Fiona as well with the Reshiram Dynamaxing on her side of the field. Gotta find a little bit more damage out of it, though, because it just wasn't there. And this Follow Me, particularly if you switch out as well, that Follow Me is going to be good for 2 turns now.
Yeah, kind of interesting, too. We essentially saw the same play as last time, right? Because Tapu Fini's action didn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, the Indeedee pivots over, though, to the Helping Hand, maybe hoping that the Follow Me is being respected enough that the targeting just goes that way. Max Darkness follows up, so there is a change. Tapu Fini takes it a little bit better, I'd say, than the Porygon does, because it's not very effective. Porygon is also very bulky, so definitely feeling that that's the way to go with it. But no damage on the Reshiram is pretty big here. Reshiram does throw out the Max Quake, so it has gone after that Indeedee, respecting the potential Follow Me there and getting the special defense boost. But yeah, Indeedee's around next turn as well. So Gary in a very good position compared to last game, which he did win, right? He's still got his 2 Pokemon remaining at the end of turn number 1.
Yeah, I kind of like that play, though, by Fiona there, where I assume that she was reading that there was a threat of Porygon 2 getting one shot, which is not something we see very often. But a nice switch there, where that's a very high damage attack. You know, Yveltal has multiple ways of boosting the damage of dark type attacks, plus get the Helping Hand boost there. I mean, you see, right? I mean, Tapu Fini, one of the stronger non-restricted defensive Pokemon in the format, still gets chunked there by a resisted attack.
Yeah, and indeed he keeps it going with these Helping Hands. I mean, the special defense boost just deals with the special defense drop, so it's right back where we were at the beginning of the last turn. And Reshiram, it's probably very grateful that it got that boost, because otherwise that was going to look a whole lot worse. The special defense going down there once again, needs another Max Quake, but if you want damage on the Yveltal, Max Quake isn't going to be an option. Moonblast into that Yveltal, a little bit underwhelming, but of course, you know.
Ooh, big special attack drop,
Big special attack drop, very, very important. As Reshiram just keeps going with the Max Quakes, just making up for this Max Darkness every single turn. It's almost like that decision is kind of being made for Fiona, I think, with the way Gary is playing this game.
Yeah, I really like that, though, because at least this time, Fiona was able to get something out of using those max moves, where last time the Max Flare just immediately got the weather reset when Kyra came in. You know, there's a decent chance that just happens here again, where, you know, now it's boosted up. It's going to be much more difficult just to pick up that knockout. I like this a lot more. Also, there's more damage the other way. There's only one turn left on the Dynamax on both sides, which I think is mostly to Fiona's advantage as well.
It's a lot closer, even though it took a little bit longer to get that knockout. I think Fiona's in a much better position. Actually, not getting that Kyogre in early sort of works in her favor overall.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tougher now, right? Because the last time, Reshiram was in so much more danger that Kyogre was never really threatened and kind of just got that Water Pulse every turn, where this time I think there's a much more realistic threat that, we don't see full power Water Spout for the whole game.
Yeah, that could be taken away, but Max Airstream is going to be a potential option to try and set it up as Reshiram takes a little bit of damage. Not that much, but, it's still something, and crucially, it gets the speed boost over onto this Kyogre. Yveltal taking a little bit of damage, of course, there. There's the Water Spout that we were talking about, and Tapu Fini gets felled. Reshiram clings on once again, and that is, of course, the benefit of those Max Quakes being exchanged earlier. But the Max Flare is going towards that Yveltal, is going to be in the rain, and of course is mainly designed just to try and control the weather, I think, and make sure that that Water Spout is a problem and is a concern in the next turn. Potentially forcing a switch, revealing that fourth Pokemon from Gary's team and helping those informed decisions.
Yeah, this makes sense. So now Porygon 2 comes in. There's a much more realistic chance of getting the Trick Room up in time to actually do something. Last Pokemon, almost for sure, Calyrex. It's a much better position. However, Kyogre's still sneaking around the outskirts of the battle here, getting those Water Spouts off. It's going to have a little harder time closing this one out, but Gary's done a really good job of protecting it so far.
Yeah, Gary's done really, really well as it comes to that. It's a tough one. Both trainers in sort of the position they want to be in, I think, is fair to say. But the Yveltal revealing that Dark Pulse, just going after that Porygon 2, does really need to stop it to setting up Trick Room.
It's a 30% chance that Trick Room doesn't go up and the game basically just ends. Oh, it just misses the knockout as well.
Ooh, falls a little bit short there as Porygon 2. I don't know if you wanted to trace that ability because that made it way too close for comfort. I think really not exactly premium choices for Trace, right? You get Dark Aura and Dark Aura again. But, you do manage to reset the rain, which kind of hurts, right? You put yourself in way too much danger, and now this Porygon forced into a recover cycle. And Calyrex is being asked, yes, Calyrex is going to deal with Yveltal. I'm not worried about that in the slightest. You really don't want to see a Alolan Marowak here, though. I think that's a big concern, right? Porygon 2 is forced to do this, and you're asking a lot of your Calyrex, which doesn't really have a great answer to Kyogre, apart from stop it Water Spouting.
Yeah, we'll at least probably get the knockout and the Chilling Neigh boost here, so it'll be a little bit more intimidating. But yeah, it's a tough spot where it's still going to be a big hit from this Kyogre.
The rain got set back up, and you use that last turn to say, well, I'll take it away with Max Flare, even though I'm not doing that much damage. The Trace really hurts there. Let's see how much this Water Spout does. It has taken that chip. Porygon once again clinging on through the Water Spout, but that Calyrex took, I'd say, too much damage to be comfortable.
Yeah, kind of now at this point, almost no matter what the final Pokemon is, I just don't know how at least Calyrex gets to do this one, And it is that Marowak.
Yeah,
we were talking about it, and here it is.
Yeah, that's really bad news. You wanted to see either of the other options here in the Calyrex's place. Maybe, there is a world. I think anything but the Marowak, there is a world where you could double up onto that Kyogre. But I think as soon as the Marowak is revealed here, a Pokemon notoriously good in Trick Room as well, certainly helping out here, and really nicely done by Gary to identify that at Team Preview and say, the Porygon 2 is kind of the reddest of flags, right? I'm going to play Trick Room. Really nicely done there to be able to pivot into that, and having it at the end game here kind of just puts a lock on this game for Gary. Looking very likely, or increasingly likely, that we will be seeing one of these creative teams in day 2.
Yeah, looking like it, and I think it's a really interesting way that Gary won this game if he does, because there weren't really any tricks, right? You just steamrolled it. Yeah,
it just kind of revealed everything, and I like that he saved his Trick Room counter for after the Trick Room had gone up. I think this is a little bit unfair in the regards that, the Trick Room counter also, hard counters the Pokemon that is supposed to sweep in Trick Room. Maybe this is just one of those meta adaptations, right? Where he's been like, why is everyone running Ice Rider? If they use Trick Room, I have an answer.
And it makes sense, right? He's got a very strong kind of fast mode where, indeed he just protects those restricted Pokemon.